everybody. It is Jody Sharp from Super Fives for Super Guys, and today we're going to tie this kicker frog. And a couple of things you're going to need to get you started. We're going to do the eyes first, so you're going to need some double-sided tape. So we're going to take a piece of that. You're going to need some sort of thin plastic to apply your tape, and some sort of board or cutting surface that you don't mind getting dirty. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some Google eyes like this, and we are going to get the size we need, which is not in there. I have, let's see where I have them. These ones here. All right, so you want not the smallest size, but the next size up of Google eyes. And you're going to need 2 of those, and you will apply them onto your tape like this. The next thing you're going to need is some black nail polish. And what we're going to do, let me see if I can. I'm going to clip this so that it holds onto the board. This is easier to do when I'm not doing it on camera, of course. But you're going to take your nail polish and you're going to cover up the entire Google eye with black nail polish. And you're going to do that for both. Just like that. Okay, so once you've got them completely covered up, you are going to set this board aside somewhere out of the way, because those now have to dry. So the next thing you're gonna need is we're gonna make the body of the frog, so the skeleton. So you're going to need some wire to make this articulated skeleton so that the legs will kick, because that's what gives our kicky frog the kicksy action. So what you're going to need is some green wire. You can use other colors wire. If you can't find green craft wire, that's perfectly all right. But preferably, if you can find green craft wire, you'll see it will blend in nicer with your frog. All right. So if you get some green craft wire, and what you're going to need is these pliers here. They're called looping pliers. They're for making articulated spines. And what you got to do is, let me show you here. I'll take off the pieces of this frog. So basically, we're going to make this shape in our articulated wire. So we're going to decide how long you want your, now this piece that we're going to make here is going to be the leg that attaches to the body. So you want to decide how long you want that to be. And I can't give you an exact measurement. You're just going to have to eyeball it, really. But in this case, we want it about that long. This is one of the smaller froggies. Oops, I dropped them. You can, of course, make this frog larger if you want, but I like to make the little juvenile frogs, the 1 year jumpers, because I find it catches a lot of fish like panfish and other fish. But I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's a bit of a longer pattern to tie. So what you want to do is at the point where you've made that, you want to take a pair of flat pliers, and right where the two wires connect, you want to bend it on a 60-degree angle. And then the length of your hook, which you want from the eye to, you want the point to be just where the bend of the hook is. All right. And you're just going to take your flat pliers and you're going to pinch that flat. All right. And it's going to be a little rounded at the end, and that's okay because it'll just help to tie onto the hook. Okay. So now you've got this going on. So you want to take your metal, bend it on another 60-degree angle. All right. And then you want to tie another and if you need to, you can push them together a little bit just to measure it to the same, because you want it to be pretty much the same length as the other one. And then you just clamp down with your pliers, and then you give it that little twist, and that makes the little loop. All right. And then take your cutting wire or your wire cutters, and you're just going to cut that flush, and then you can separate them out again. So that's that little Y shape. That's going to be your main kicking legs. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our looping pliers. I have a hard time saying looping pliers. I don't know why. And we're going to make the tail, the little pieces that are going to connect. This is where your little frog feet are going to connect onto that. So you want to make 2 pieces like this. So you're just going to decide how long they got to be, and you're going to fold it over, twist your loop, and you'll have that. And then you can cut that. And now you can measure the other one based upon that. You can just kind of eyeball it, make the little loop, and then measure it to the size. So I did make it a little longer. So you want to hold them side by side and just cut them flush like that. Okay. And now you will have, you can just put them on they just slide onto your wire like that. And now you have your leg pieces. All right. And I'll just put the other 2 that I showed you together. And I dropped it somewhere. Anyways, not important. I'll put this one off to the side. I'll work on that later. Okay, so the remainder of the wire that you have is going to be needed for the cross piece for the arms, where the front arms go on your fly. So just put that aside for the moment. There, I found that other piece, so I'll put that over there. All right, so this is where we need to get the hooks for the feet. So in this frog, you have the main hook in the body, and then you have 2 stinger hooks. So you have 1 on each foot. And the reason for this is because if you catch a bass, the bass is going to eat, the bass has a large mouth, right? And even crappies have a large mouth. So if a crappie tries to take this, or a largemouth bass or a smallmouth bass, they're going to come up, they're going to eat the whole thing. And generally they'll get caught on that main hook. But if they miss that hook, then you probably will catch them on one or both of the little stinger hooks on the feet. But the cool thing about this pattern is sunfish, rock bass, which might also eat the whole thing. Because if you make it the smaller version, rock bass will for sure try and eat that. But rock bass, sunfish, I've had perch come up and take this, crappies and whatever. They'll come up, they'll nip at the feet. They'll just nip at one of the feet. And then you'll just hook them on the one hook on the foot. So I've caught a lot of panfish on the little foot. So that's why I put those 3 stinger hooks on there. Now, if the waters you're fishing says you can only use 1 hook, I would just put it on the body hook. But if you're allowed to use up to 3 hooks, depending on the water, where I am in Ontario, there's most of the waters I fish, I'm allowed to use that. So I definitely take advantage of the fact that I can, and I put them in there, and it catches a lot of fish that way. So let me put that away. All right. So when you're choosing a hook for the feet, you want it to be an appropriate size hook. You don't want it to be obviously large. So you want to find a couple of small hooks. Now you don't want them to be so small that the foam will cover them completely, because if the foam covers them completely, then you're not going to get a good hook set. So in this case, I've chosen these hooks. And I will tell you what size hooks they are. They are size 10. So these are size 10 hooks. So I'm going to put them in the vise. And we're going to take our clear nylon thread. You can get it at Fabricland. You can order it online. I usually tell you guys in every video, I make it a point to talk about this. It cost me about $6 when it's not on sale, and $3 when it is on sale. So for this, you're going to wrap your line from your eye down to the bend of the hook. And you're going to cover that hook pretty substantially. Then we're going to take our body skeleton that we made, and we'll take off one of the feet, and we will put it on. And you want it to be from the bend of the hook, and it doesn't matter how high it goes, because it's going to absolutely for sure cover the eye of the hook, because the articulated part of it is a lot wider than the hook eye itself. And that's good, because it'll give you a wider range of movement. So when it's kicking in the water, that extra openness of the loop really allows it to really kick back and forth. So what you want to do, you're going to hold those 2 wires on, and you're just going to wrap a lot of thread. You're just going to go back and forth, starting at the eye of where the wire is. Now becomes the eye. And you're going to put it on pretty solidly. You're going to cover everything up on both sides of the eye of the hook, which is also going to help to stabilize it and lock it in. And this is going to take a bit. And these frogs do take a bit to put them together. They're not super fast. This is going to be about an hour. And what I like to do at this point is take my crazy glue, take my bobbin out of the way, and apply a bead of crazy glue. And I wipe off my crazy glue and put it off to the side. Okay, beautiful. Starting to look good. So for this, you're going to need 2 foams. You're going to need a green foam and a yellow foam. Or you could use a white. If you want your frog to have a white belly, some frogs have a really, really white belly. Some have a yellow belly. Most of mine, I do the yellow belly with the green top. Again, the green comes in different shades, so it's up to you which color you want to do. You can be really creative with this. So we're going to take our foam and we're going to cut a strip of that foam. That's going to be double the length of the hook. And we're going to fold it in half. And as you can see, when you do that, it's going to leave space for the feet and it's going to leave a tie-in point. So you're going to cut that now in half. Now this is going to make both feet for both parts. So if you take your foam, your 2 strips of foam, hold them together, and cut on an angle, a 60-degree angle from corner inwards, from both corners, that's going to make the one toe. And then if you take from the point, the center of the foam, and you just cut that, it's going to make these little triangles. And then you cut the other angle from the point to the center point of that. So basically, now you're going to have 2 little feety patterns. And when you do the arms, you're going to do the exact same thing, only a little shorter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hold, actually, they're a little bit long. So I'm going to make them I'm just going to cut a couple of millimeters off of that. Basically what you want is that hook bend, so where the part of the hook, to be right center in the little part of the foot. So now we're going to pinch our leg onto our fly, and we're going to hold it on like this, and right below where the articulated spine part is, the eye of that, we're going to tie that on in tight wraps in that one spot, and you want to tie that in. And when I'm tying a lot of flies, you'll see that I do a couple of cinch knots, just so if something gets snipped or snapped or whatever, your entire work is not lost. Now I'm going to fold up this foam. I'm going to go from underneath. I'm going to wrap down past the point of the hook to the bend of the hook. Then I'm going to give it a bit of a pinch, and I'm going to tie that part in as well, like that. Again, quick cinch knot, and that'll just hold everything into place. Okay, now if you're using, like I am, a rotating vise, you can rotate it over, take your crazy glue, and in this, where the seam is, you're going to apply some crazy glue like this and pinch it flat. All right, and as you see, it'll stick together like so. Okay, so that is pretty much the leg of your frog, the top leg. Now what we need to do is take a piece of our foam, and I have some pieces that I cut out from a different fly of the yellow foam. But basically, you want to cut your yellow foam into a thin strip that's going to be about the width of your froggy leg. Okay? And I like to round off the one end. And that end, and I'm just going to flip over this now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of my vise. You can that's a good thing. You can take parts out of your vise with your hands, rotate it upside down, and put it back in my vise. This is just going to help things. And I mean, you can angle your vise different and stuff, but I'm assuming if you're going to tackle this fly that you've had some experience in fly tying. This is not really a beginner fly. This is a intermediate fly. So take some crazy glue, put it on your foam, push it on to your frog leg, and you want that rounded end where the foot is, and you want to push it right to the where the foot is. And if it doesn't, while you're fidgeting, the crazy glue often dries, so it doesn't do it. But you can go back in and apply it after. So if that happens, don't worry. But tie down the first point, and you want it to be flush where you tied the foot part. Okay? Now we're going to tie one of those cinch knots. And we're going to trim off our thread, go up to the knee joint where it's tied off below there. We're going to attach it, give it a bit of a trim. Now we're going to take our crazy glue, cover that foam, and we're going to push it down. Now I cut my piece just a little too short, but what you want to do is you want to just lock that down so with a thing, and it isn't going to affect it. So I just went over, but I wish it would have been just a little bit longer to cover, but that's okay. And now that's all tied in, we're going to do 3 cinch knots, then we're going to give that a snip. And now we can take our leg out of the vise. This is the end of our leg. And as you can see, it's got that nice little froggy foot, nice yellow underbelly, and top green. And we're going to go back with our crazy glue, and we're going to apply it onto that part of the foot, that little part, and then we will push it in and push it flat. And now it looks like the foot ends naturally in a nice rounded shape. And the good thing is when the fish bites it, you're going to come grab it and it'll hook on. All right, so there's 2 things you can do. At this point, you can take your markers, a brown marker, and start adding all the dots and lines and stuff. I personally do it all at the end. I know it's going to sound a little tricky to do it that way, but that's the way I do it, and I'm going to show you the way I do it. But if you want to paint these parts as you go along, like if you wanted to do these end pieces now, you most certainly could. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your leg, slide it up into that little Y shape, and then give it a bit of a twist so that that is up and down. So that now what you have is a wiggly leg. Okay. So now I'm going to kind of race through and show you one more time. Put the other foot in the vise. Take your clear nylon thread. Start at the eye, work your way down, all the way to the bend, work your way back up, go down one more time. This is going to make a nice base to tie on your thing. Take your other leg piece, hold it onto your hook, tie it in. Again, you want to be really generous with your thread. Go all the way up to where the eye is, tie that. That'll seal that nice and closed. Like that. Go back down. And the reason you want to put so much, you really want to put a lot of thread and then glue it down, is because this is the part of the fly that takes the most punishment. If one of those fish takes a bite onto the foot, it needs to be able to be strong enough to hold on while you fight it. So take your crazy glue, pull your bobbin out of the way, run some crazy glue along. That'll lock everything in. Wipe your crazy glue off. There you go. Now we're going to take our other foot. Oh, and remember to leave your thread up by the eye. We're going to take our other foot. We're going to tie it in like so. Lift up our foam. Work our way down to the bend. And then we'll tie our foot. Like so. Okay. Again, cinch knot it. In case your thread snaps. Flip it over. Run your crazy glue into that seam. And squeeze it shut. Something to note about crazy glue and foam, for it to stick is about 5 seconds. So if you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is going to help everything stick together. That's what I found is the key to success. And if you just hold it a few more seconds, you're guaranteed to have it to do that. So now we'll flip our leg back up, hold it over, put it back in our vise like this. And I'm going to take another piece of that pre-cut foam, cut it into another thin little strip, round off the edge, and I'm not going to bother to put the crazy glue because it didn't hold and it was just an extra step. So I'm going to just tie it in at the tie-in point. I will do my cinch knot, 2, 3, cut it right flush, go back up to the joint of the hook, tie my thread down, then I will take my crazy glue, run it along the edge, and I will push it down. And then I will catch the corner and tie down the knee joint. One, 2, 3. Trim it off. And then I will take it out. As you can see, add my little drop of crazy glue. And I will just push it flat. Wipe off my crazy glue. Okay. Now I will take the other foot and I will attach it, slide it on, give it a twist, 90-degree twist, and we will have your two little feeties. So you just want to make sure that they're lined up properly, and you can do this after, so we won't fidget too much with that. Okay, so now you want to find your body hook, and for that, depends on the size of your frog. You want it to be a fairly wide gapped hook. I'm going to use this straight eagle claw for the size frog that we're making. And to let you know, size 4 eagle claw is the size for the body. So we're going to put that into our vise. We're going to attach our thread just below the eye of the hook. And we're going to, and you don't have to be touching wraps. They can be spread apart. Go to the bend, work your way back up to the eye. Again, you can make wider loops. You just need to put down a base of thread so your everything you're tying down has something to grip into. At this point, I do like to take a little bit of crazy glue, just run it along the top, and that is just going to allow everything to harden in there nice and secure. And now we're going to take our frog legs, and you want to tie them in so that the V of the legs, where the legs V off, come out just at the bend, where the bend of the hook is. All right. And you're going to tie that down. All right, I'm going to tie that in. And this is going to be nice and secure, which is exactly what you want it to be. You just want it to be, and you can be pretty liberal with this. Again, if you catch a fish, you don't want that to pull out. So, I mean, and you can try pulling on it. I mean, if you pull on it and it doesn't move, you know you've got enough wraps on it. And then I usually throw a few more. just because I've gone out with this fly, and I kid you not, I've caught 250 largemouth, a combination of largemouth and smallmouth on it in an afternoon. And you know, anybody who's caught largemouth and smallmouth, especially smallmouth, they fight like you won't believe, jumping and kicking up a fuss and everything splashing around. So you want that to be in there secure. Okay. So at this point of the fly, we're going to leave that in our vise. Our nail polish on our eyes have dried. So see, you got these black eyes. So this is where we're going to put in the really cool details of our fly. Now, of course, I probably don't have it out, which would be, oops, knocking everything about. Okay. I do have it out. So we'll just put our vise back in our frame. So at this point, we're going to put the details in our frog. So we're going to take some copper paint, acrylic paint. We're going to take a paintbrush, and we're going to squeeze a little bit on our paintbrush. And you don't need too much at all. You just need a little bit. And I'm going to try and do this without making a mess. And you basically want to dab it on to your eye like that. And you want to cut, you don't want to cover all the black, but you just want to cover all the surface of the top. Just like that. So that's going to be the eye. Okay, so that's going to take a little bit to dry. So again, we're going to just set that off to the side. We're done with that. So we'll put our paintbrush off to the side. All right. So starting to look good. So the next thing we're going to do, now that we got this all glued in, is we're going to actually take our frog body out of the vise, and we're going to put it in reverse into our vise like this. Okay, and what this is going to allow us to do is to take our thread and go over each leg, the top part of the leg, because now the bottom part is done now. So you want to go over each part of the leg, and you want to just tie it closed, closing up those gaps so the wire now pinches together. And then once you do that leg, you are able to bend it off to the side so it's out of your way. And then this will allow you to go down the other leg all the way to that articulated joint. And then you can work your way back up. And that is going to seal everything shut. And now, no matter how hard those fish pull on this, it is just not going to move. So what we're going to do now is going to take our foam, and this is fantastic. This little strip that we cut for the other parts happens to be the same width, but you want it to be the same width to cover that joint. All right. And you're going to bend it in half. So you want it to be the same width. I'm going to say it's probably a 4 millimeter cut. So you want to cut about 4 millimeters. So you're going to have a square about this big. And then when you put it on, it's going to cover that. And I can tell you can just eyeball it. You want it to be really the same width as the back one. So if you cut it too thick and you see it's not going to line up straight with the other one, like that, it's going to be too bulky, you can just go in there and trim it with your scissors flush. And this is kind of a thing that you gotta eyeball it. So basically, at this point, now this is where it gets a little tricky because you've got the feeties, the articulated feeties, right, with the hooks. So you got to be careful because you can get hooked yourself. And if you use nice sharp hooks like I do, you can hook yourself. So you're going to kind of lift it up with one, pinch it down with your other hand, and then slowly lower it. Grab your bobbin, tie it in, right? And take your two fingers, do a cinch knot, go up over the leg, put this in between the leg, and you can pull it, do a cinch knot. This is just going to cause it from not unraveling. And then you flip up this part of the foam and work your way up to the top to where the bend is, so where the leg meets the bend. And then you're going to pinch it again and you're going to tie it in. Beautiful. Now we'll turn it upside down so that I can see. We're going to rub it into the little split, our crazy glue, and then pinch it shut. Okay. Bada boom, bada bing. The next thing we're going to do, now I'm going to use a different piece of foam because I know these parts are just a little bit longer and I want it to be coverage. So we're going to take our foam, measure it to the same width as the bottom parts, cut it round on the top, and I'm going to at this point take out our frog. I usually do this kind of things by hand, right? So like, here's the thing. You don't always have to use your vise. So you can take your foam out, measure it up to your frog, hold it on, and you could tie it on. This is where you start doing advanced fly tying because you start being not relying solely on your tools and you start working more with your hands. So if you have a really dexterity, you can tie it off. Now, if you don't have good dexterity, you can again put it back in your vise, and you could just tie it off, right? Then we're going to give that a trim, and then we will reattach it back on the other end. And we will apply some crazy glue onto the foam. This crazy glue is running out. But I know there's still some in there. Come on. Anyways, for the sake of the argument, we put some crazy glue on there. And we will tie this down at the knee. Make sure that's pushed in. And then we will do a couple of cinch knots. Okay, then we can trim that one off. All right. Now you can take your scissors, trim this one flush to the end, and you have one leg completely done. Now we're going to take our foam, our green foam, measure it to the other side. That'll be good. So we can push this leg out of the way. Attach our foam, or attach our thread. Put it on our wire, tie it down. Pull our foam up to the top. Go to the end. And we can push it down. And then we can tie it off. Of course, these flies take so long, like it's hard to do videos about them because they really eat into the time. But okay, so we're going to take our yellow foam, cut another strip, round it off on the end. Put that down for a second, and then we're going to go into the crack of the foam, pinch it shut, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll be sealed up. And then we'll take our foam, our yellow foam, add some crazy glue. Her crazy glue is running out. So if you tie flies like me, you always have new crazy glue. We will apply our crazy glue like that. Tuck it underneath. Pinch it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tie it down, our foam on that end. Then we will trim it flush. Take our 2 fingers, do our cinch knot. Trim it off. Go to our articulated point on the knee, tie on our thread, 2 or 3 wraps. Slide our cinch knot over our foot to the point. And trim it off. All right. So at this point in the fly, you've got your legs, both front and back, and this is the worst part of the fly done to assemble. Once you assemble these parts of the feet on, the hard part is over. Of course, everything you do from here on in does require that you don't get yourself hooked on these little feet. But now we can take our frog, put him right ways back into our vise, and you can just adjust the legs the way you want them. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a foam tube, and this foam tube is going to become the body of our fly. But I need to show you how to make that because it's not, if I just make that for you and show you. You won't understand. Now there's a couple things you can do. You could just at this point cut the shape of the frog in a flat piece of foam, and you will have a flat bodied frog. So you'll have a flat head. And his profile will be good. It will be really good. But if you want your frog, as you're twitching him along, to have a popping action and a little bit of a bloop plopping sound, like, bloop bloop, you want to make it like a little popper mouth, so that this frog, as it pops along, is going to bloop bloop, and that is also going to help that extra movement to make the legs undulate. All right, so that's what we're going to do with this fella here. So to do that, dropping stuff all over the place. To do that, we're going to take a piece of our foam, our green foam, and we're going to fold it over in half. Like, not in half, but we're going to give it a fold, and then we're going to roll it over like this, and it's going to make the tube part of the body of our frog. And you can decide how fat of a body you want him to have. If you want him to be fat, you can just roll it over and make it a bit fatter. And just when you're measuring it, you can decide, like, if you're making a little frog, you want a thin tube. If you're making a fatter frog, give him a fatter tube. And again, you can size this up to make like bull frogs if you want. I mean, you can make large frog bodies. This little frog, like I said, I like to use about this size frog. And to give you a little bit of a comparison to my hand and my fingers, he's about just a little shy the length of my fingers, right? So he's not huge, and he works really good. But I have made them larger, and they catch fish as well, but I like to catch a wide range of fish. I don't like to just go for the big boys. I like to go for everybody in between. I like to catch mom and dad and the whole family. But anyways, we're gonna for this purpose, we're gonna round our tubes, pinch it, decide how wide we want it. I want it about that wide for this frog. This size frog. And then, while we've got this pinched in our fingers like this, we're going to take our crazy glue, and you're going to run. Oops, this is the old one. I don't know why I picked that up again. Blah, blah, blah. Throw that off to the side. We're going to take our crazy glue, and we're going to apply a couple of dabs of crazy glue. And then we're going to pinch it like so. And that's going to hold it in place while we work down the rest of the foam. And you want to just work along in the crack of the foam, pinching it down as you go, counting to 5. All right. And then once you see that it's glued firm, you can take your scissors and you can cut off the excess of that. And then we're going to push it down so that the little crease that's in the foam is going to be covered. So that'll be in the center of your tube, because that's going to be covered by the underbelly, the yellow. All right. So that's our body. So what you want to do, you want to hold that up to your fly, and you want it to be snug against where the back legs meet the hook. And then you want to go up to the eye, and you want to just cut it below, just below the eye of the hook. Like that. All right, so that is now going to be the body of our frog. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our leftover green wire, and we're going to measure the width of our body, and you're going to decide how long you want the arms. You don't want them to be as long as the legs, so you just want a little piece sticking out, and you're going to trim that even on both sides. All right, and you put the excess of your wire down. So now we're going to take our thread and apply it onto our frog body. And we're going to take that wire we cut, and we want to put that part of the frog right in between the eye and the legs. And tie it on. And you're going to do some X wraps. And then what you're going to do is with your eye, you're going to, before you tie that in all the way, you just want to, while you're still able to slide it, you just want to make sure it's even on both sides. And then you're going to do a couple more X wraps just to hold it in place, and then do some figure eights going underneath like this. And then do a couple more X wraps, and that's going to secure it nice and firm. Pull your bobbin out of the way, add a dab of crazy glue, and that is going to now lock all that into place for you. Okay, now we're going to take our frog tube, take our thread, wrap it all the way down to the point where the bend is. We're going to place our foam tube onto the hook with the center, with this where this foam is attached to the center. And we're going to, just about the 1 millimeter point, we're going to bend it down a little, give it a bit of a bend. And then about 1 millimeter in, you're going to tie it down. Now you will find this will probably be a little fidgety. So you can just, if you have to adjust as you go, just adjust as you go, sliding it down like so. Okay. Looking good. So now we're going to take our green foam, and you're going to need a strip of green foam, and I'll cut it fresh. You want a strip of green foam to be not quite the width of the tube, but you want it to be a little wider, probably about that wide, and I'll just cut it to the end. Because what we're going to do here now is we're going to tie this under the hook, bring it up through the legs, and cinch it down on the top. So to do that, what you're going to do, you're going to take your 2 fingers, hold your bobbin, take your pinky and thumb, or your mid finger and thumb, pinch it up at the top, take it out of your vise. You're going to take your other hand, measure it so that it's hanging under the belly, take your hook, poke it through, And then you can take your hook, put it back in the vise, and then you can let everything go. All right. Now you're going to push that foam up to the body, and you're going to take your thread and you're going to catch that foam. And if you need to bend your front arms forward to do that, you can, so they're out of your way. You're going to catch that at the same point as you caught your tube. Like so. Again, if you need to spread his back legs a little bit, you can. Take a bit of crazy glue, apply it onto your foam, pull it up forward through the legs, and at the same point, you want to cinch that down like this. All right. Now we'll take our rounded scissors and we'll cut that nice and flush. Keep this little piece because you can make your hands with that. And then see where this piece is? You can take your thread and go right in between the center and pull it tight, and that will pretty much tuck that in so it'll be nice and smooth. All right, then go underneath and trim that little tag piece flush on the bottom. And you can just go with your thread and cinch it down. And then now everything is nice and flush. Okay, so one last thing, and then we'll be pretty much done with the tying part. So we want to make the underbody of our frog. So you want to cut a piece of foam the width of the tube. And actually, I'll probably do this from the top because it's easier to do. So you want to cut a piece of foam the width of the tube that you created. You're just going to have to eyeball this. All right. And you want to cut it flush with the eye of the hook. And then you're going to take your scissors, preferably your rounded ones if you have. If you don't, that's okay. And you're going to cut this round on the bottom, flip it over, cut it round on the bottom. And I have my suspicions that this is probably wider than I want it. So I'm going to go on either side and trim just a little bit off of each side. So basically the shape you want is this sort of shape. And then you're going to trim, just round off the edges on the top. So the really pointed end is going to be facing down underneath, and the rounded edge is going to be up top where the mouth is. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take the fly out of the vise at this point, flip him upside down, put him back into the vise so that I can work easily on him. Then I'm going to take that foam, I'm going to pinch it on, and then I'm going to tie it in like so. And then I'm going to take my two fingers, make a nice big loop go around the head, around the legs and the arms, right to that point where I tied that in. And we're going to do 3 of those. And when you tie those knots, just give it a little pinch, and that'll just lock it in. And then you can cut off your thread, and we're done with the thread. So everything else now is just adjustment. So what we're going to do, we're going to adjust our arms so that they're straight out on either side. Now I'm going to take my frog out of the vise, and this little part where the belly meets the bum, we're going to take some crazy glue, cover that, take our 2 fingers, pinch it down. All right, so it's nice and flush, and then it makes a nice wide hook gap, so when that fish takes it, it'll get a nice good hook set. The next thing we're going to do is line up our eye of our hook right in the center of either side of that tube. And I can tell that it's got it pushed up just a little bit. So when you want to make sure that you have a place to tie on. So I'm going to trim 1/2 millimeter off. And as you can see, that opened it up where the hook can tie on. All right. So what we're going to do, line that up in the center, take our crazy glue, cover the entire body of the underbelly of the frog on the green part. Make sure it's lined up, and then push your foam down onto the body of your frog and hold it for the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I usually go along making sure it's all pushed in. And as you can see, all the seams are now pushed in nice and good. And now we got a really froggy looking frog. All right. So far, everything is looking good. So I want to go back now and check the eyes. So what I like to do when I do this paint is take out I have a small blow dryer, and I just touch it for about 5 minutes to blow dry it, but I'm not going to do that in this video. But if you have a blow dryer, just go for 5 minutes, blow dry the eyes. Usually I make a whole sheet of eyes at once, but for today's video, I'm just showing you. So let's pretend that is dried now. You've blow dried it. That's dry. So now we're going to make the pupil of the eyes. All right? Because a frog's eyes have that nice coppery look on the ring of the eye, and then they have a black pupil. So this is where you got to be really, really careful. You take your brush and you just dab your black nail polish in the center like that, and it's going to make the pupil of the eye. And then go on the other side and do the same. All right. Just like that. All right, so that's your 2 froggy eyes. Now again, let that sit for a few minutes. Nail polish. Most nail polish dries really quickly, so it only takes a few minutes. It's the acrylic paint that takes longer to dry. So let's get back to our froggy here now. So as you can see, the arms, if you bend the arms down, they're a little bit long because a frog's arms on the front are shorter than his back legs. So you don't need them to be that long. So you want to trim them, these metal wires, so that you can get a grip onto with the foam. So you want to do about this, but you want the hand to be able to stick off the edge and not touch the back legs. And that's probably on this fly roughly about 2 millimeters. So what we're going to do now, we have this other piece of foam, thin foam, that is left over from the legs. We're going to fold it in half. And what you want to do is you want to measure it. So let's see if I can show you this here. You want it to be able to be the length like this so that it touches the body, but you just want it a little shorter so that it doesn't touch the legs. All right. So you measure it to that length. Hold it back up to your frog. So that's perfect. Cut it in half. And then the same thing we did with the feet. We're going to cut a point into the frog like that. And then into the center. And then you can pull out the little triangles. So those are the little froggy hands. All right. Straighten your wire back out because it'll be easier to apply. And then take one of your little froggy hands, twist it in between your thumb and forefinger like this. And that's going to make a little groove, which will make it really easy to attach onto your thing, onto your wire. And then take your crazy glue, put it on, and hold it in. Oops. And if it pops off, that's fine. Just go back in and do it again. This part is a little tricky to do. And it's trickier to do it when you're trying to show somebody on camera. Reapply it, go in, put it in, pinch it. That's better. Okay, so we can see that it's pinched on. And then what I like to do, take it out of the hook, or take the hook out of the vise, roll it a little bit. Beautiful. So we got one hand on. Then we'll take our other hand, do the same thing, roll it over. We'll turn our vise onto the side, so we'll be able to do that. Add our crazy glue. Pinch it on. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll take it out of the vise. Roll it with our fingers. All right. So now our frog has his little arms. Okay. Now we'll just leave that as it is for a second. We'll go back to our eyes. And we'll take some clear nail polish, usually like Sally Hansen's, or in this case, Sinful Colors, whatever clear nail polish. And we'll get a good drop on our brush so that you can see it actually dripping. and you'll put it onto the center and just give it a bit of a roll around. You don't want to apply any pressure whatsoever at this point because you don't want anything to smudge, but it'll seal everything in. So you want to do that to both eyes. Just like that. So now we're going to leave that again to dry. And we're going to go back to our thin strip of foam. And we're going to cut it the width of the arms. And we'll just take this guy out, flip him upside down. That'll just help us. Take your foam, trim it around on the edge. Take your crazy glue, apply it onto your foam, and then where the hand is, you want to run that down the arm, and you want to put the rounded piece into the hand so that it looks really natural, but only to the edge where the hand is. You don't want to put it all the way on the hand, just onto the edge, as we did with the feet, so that it looks like a natural joint on the frog. Then what you want to do, come up with your scissors and just cut it flush on the edge with the body. Take your scissors, round off the little excess piece that you got, and you're going to do that same step on the other hand. We're going to take it, put it into the hand, push it down, hold it in, count of 5, cut it flush. And if at any point your crazy glue did not hold, you can just go back in and reapply it. Hold it down, count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So basically, this is your frog. And to be really honest, you could take this out and fish it, and just like this is going to catch fish. If you don't want to color it up, you don't have to. You can paint this thing now any way you want, and it's going to work great. You could do toad colors, so you could do like a brown on the top with a white belly with just different speckles. I've done that. I call them the tiny toad. Frog, toad, same pattern. They catch fish. This guy, when he's going through the water, his legs are kicking back and forth, and he's catching fish. And you want to angle his arms down like this, because when a frog swims in the water, they look, they're swimming like a little jet. The feet are doing the work. So that's how you want them to look. And when they see this yellow speckles on the bottom, those fish are just going to go nuts. While you're painting your frog, you are going to want your hands to be up straight. Ouch, the hooks do work. Those stingers catch everything, including the fishermen. So while you're painting your frog pattern, you're going to want those hands to be straight. But before you paint your frog pattern, you're going to want to attach the eyes. Now, one other thing I've got to tell you, if the hands are a little loose, you want to take a dab of crazy glue, because you don't want them to twist off. You want to take a dab of crazy glue and you want to push them onto your frog. And we'll just do that on the other side, even though the other side was okay. And what it's going to do is going to end up locking your arms on so that they're just not going to come off. Like so. Now those eyes that I did are not dry, but I'm going to go on with the video because it's a long process. So I believe I have, yes I do. I have a set of eyes that are done. And now is the time to apply them before we do anything else. If you cover this frog up with your clear nail polish and everything, like when you paint it, if you paint it first, then apply the eyes. If you don't use UV resin, they will probably pop off easier. If you attach these directly to the foam, they'll have a much stronger bond. So I'm going to take my crazy glue, apply a dab of crazy glue on the back of the eye, and I'm just going to put it on right in between where the mouth is and the front foot. And I'm going to hold it down for the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure, give it a little bit of a twist, make sure it's on there. And then I'm going to take the other eyeball, and on the opposite side, do the exact same process. Holding it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Give it a wiggle. Make sure it's all secure, which it is. So this is fabulous. Like I said, you could take this frog now, you fish it, you're going to catch fish, no doubt. But we want to color up our frog. I like the leopard frog pattern. You can paint your frog however you want, but I like the leopard, the little leopard frog stripes. We have a lot of leopard frogs here in Ontario, where I live. So I've done some red belly frogs. I've done, like I've painted them to look like a red-eyed tree frog. The action on these, they all catch fish, but the most natural to me is a leopard frog color. And the simplest way to do a leopard frog color is just a brown Sharpie marker and some clear nail polish. And that's it. And what I like to do is I start on the top. I'll put them in the vise in reverse so that I can start working on them. And the first thing I usually do is I'll fold up the feet and I'll do 2 little stripes in the feet. And I'll hold that up so you can see. So like two little stripes just in the feet like that. They're tricky to do it once you start painting everything, so I like to do them first. Just on the back feet. I don't worry about the front feet. Okay. Now, I hold up the feet, I pinch it, and if you have a small pair of hemostats, this can help you to paint your froggy, because you can hold onto it and you can angle things. So you can hold the hook, and each leg, both the top part of the leg and the back, gets on this size frog, 2 stripes. Okay, so like that, go up. If you make a larger frog, you might want to put 3 stripes in there. So if you make a really bass popping frog, you'll put 3 stripes. And what I like to do is just add some dots. Don't go too crazy. I mean, you don't need that many dots. And you just add throughout some dots on the yellow, like so. All right, and on the top part, some dots on the yellow. And you can take your hemostats off that leg. You can put them onto the other leg, on the other hook. And same thing, you want to do 2 stripes. And on the upper part, you want to do 2 stripes. This is where you get to really be an artist. And then you want to take some little dabs, little dots. Again, not too many. You don't have to go all nuts. Okay. Those are the, oops, I wanted to put a couple in there. Okay. So those are the back legs on the top. Usually here on the bum, I put a dot. Then on the, I like to anyways at this point take this out of the vise, put my hemostats on it so I can get a really nice grip, and then I will start applying the other dots. Now on the body, I use really large dots. I put, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly 7, maybe 8 big dots. And then I'll just go in between the big dots with some little dots. And that'll give you the back body. Now for the hands, I just do some small little dots all throughout, making sure to touch the yellow a little bit. Okay, just like that. Repeat that step on the other side. So he's looking really froggy. Okay. On the mouth, I like to take the brown marker and do the lip of the mouth. And on the yellow. All right. And then when we paint it, I'm going to smudge some in just to make it look all right. You could do that red. You could do the lip red. You could do all kinds of things. You can take artistic license any way you want. I mean, the painting is the painting, right? So now that we've got the top pretty much looking frog, what we're going to do is we're going to do the underside of our frog. Now for this, I'm going to put him back in the vise. I'm going to take my small hemostats again, clip it onto the back of the foot, and I'm going to lift it up, fold it up, and I'm just going to start adding, again, not Don't go too crazy. You just want to add some brown dots. All right. And then you're going to do the same on the other foot. Lift it up. Do a couple of brown dots, a few brown dots. Then we're done with that. Then I will take it out of the vise again, clip it with my big hemostats, and then I can finish off the rest of the body. So I'll do a couple more brown dots on the top leg portion on either side, right? Like that. Couple on the hands. Like that. And then just speckle the underbody like that. And at this point, you could totally take him out and fish him. You don't have to seal him in. He'll fish, no problem. But what I like to do at this point is put him back in the vise. And I'll take my clear nail polish and my little hemostats. And I will start with the feet. So I'll clip these on. And the good thing is you can leave these hang too. That's what I like about hemostats. They'll pinch on and hang there. So what I like to do at this point is I'll take my hemostats, flip my little frog upside down, and I will gently dab the feet and I will touch up the things. And as you're going, you're going to see that the brown from the nail polish gets on the brush and it tints things like a little brownish color. And that's exactly what you want it to do. And you can, if you go quickly into your nail polish and out, none of it will get onto the outside. It'll all stay on your brush. But if you leave it in your nail polish, like if you do this, go and answer the phone or something, the brown is going to leak into your nail polish. It's going to turn your nail polish brown. Or red if you're working with red. So between dips, if you wipe off your nail polish, you'll see you'll get it off. And just wipe it till it's clear, and then you won't contaminate your nail polish. So that's the one side. Now we're going to flip it over or grab the other leg, do the other side. Doing the little feety. Do the underside of the leg. Just kind of dabbing as you go. And again, it'll just drag the nail polish, and it'll just tint everything you cover, so it'll be a little bit duller of a color, and it'll just look more natural. Because the original green didn't look all that natural. All right, so then now the little feet are done. Like, as you can see the difference between the greens, right? So as the brown just kind of tints that green into a more froggy color green, same as the underbelly, right? So that's what you really want to happen. Okay. So now we're going to do the top part of the legs. All right, making sure you get all of it. Do that part of the legs. All right. Now we're going to do the top part of the body. Going to do the hands. You can go over the eyes a bit because it'll just help seal it a little more secure. Do in between the little fingers. And every so often, just take your brush, wipe it clean, because that'll just help it to be cleaner. And then, for one last time, we will take out our big hemostats, pinch it on, flip over our frog, and then we will do the underbelly. So again, just touching up the frog. As you can see, it starts tinting the yellow, and it just seals in all the things, tints to green. Seals in everything, go between the fingers. All right. And then put your nail polish down, clean off your brush. And we can just let this fella dry. But that's pretty much your froggy. And then when he is dry, you can just gently bend down the arms. I know he's not completely dry, but I just want you to see. So you can bend down the arms, and that's how he looks. And I'm just going to go over that just a little bit since I touched it with my fingers. Like so. And I usually do 2 coats. So when he dries completely, just go back over and touch them all up again. Oh, and the one thing I didn't do, sorry, is the mouth. Where the mouth is, go around the edge of the mouth, and then you can go inside the mouth, and it will just darken up the mouth a little bit, and it'll make him look a lot more natural inside. Just like that. So that's it, guys. That's our little foam kicker frog. I hope that was helpful to some people. I've had a lot of friends request it. Me and my friends love to go out and I make these for my friends all the time as gifts for birthdays and stuff. They make a great gift to your bass fishing friends, and your panfish fishing friends. And I really enjoy fishing this frog. Again, you can upsize him, downsize him. He's to me the ultimate frog. I mean, there's another frog online that is also articulated that I found. I've scoured the internet looking for articulated frog flies that are made with, spines, like articulated spines. Not too many, but there is one if you're looking for it. It's called the Geppetto frog, and he's also makes it out of foam. It's quite large. He puts a double barreled, one of those double barreled foam popper heads on there, whereas I make everything from scratch. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, if you want something similar and you want to check it out, uh, go check them out. Double barreled frog. Uh, yeah. But that's it, guys. That's my foam kicker, articulated foam kicker frog. It's been doing a great job for me. Again, size them up, size them down, make them. You can make them even smaller than this. This guy's just a teeny weeny smaller. I don't know if I've got a smaller one. Oh, there's a significantly smaller one. And so make them how big you want them. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a bit long. It will take you a bit of time to make it, but I promise you, if you start mastering these frogs, you will enjoy it. If you're a seller of flies, you make and sell flies, this is a good seller. Very impressive when people see your collection. They're always like, yeah, the frog, and I always have a video attached with me catching some fish on it. So make the kicker frog. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. And let me know in the comments. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you make one, let me know in the comments. If you're watching on Facebook, definitely let me know in the comments. If you catch some fish, I post some pictures if you're in my Facebook group on Ontario Fly Tying and Fly Fishing of you catching some big bass with the kicker frog. I would love to see that. So that's me, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I will see you on the next one.